Hello and welcome. You are watching the Africa Brief on NewsX World, and here are the top headlines. The Rapid Support Forces have reportedly agreed to a humanitarian truce proposed by US-led mediator group Quad. This comes more than a week after the RSF seized El Fasher. Explosions have been heard near the army-controlled Sudanese capital of Khartoum as per reports. While there are reports also of a possible ceasefire, the paramilitary forces appear to be shifting their focus on oil-rich Kordofan and Khartoum. Pirates have attacked a Maltese flag tanker in the Indian Ocean. This is being seen as a renewed threat to shipping lanes after years of relative calm. The crew of 24 on board reportedly secured themselves in the ship's fortified citadel, and no casualties have been reported. The interim authorities in Ethiopia's Tigray region have rejected accusations from neighboring countries of Afar region, which claimed Tigrayan forces had seized control of villages and bombed civilians. 92-year-old Cameroon's longtime leader Paul Biya has been sworn in for his 8th term, extending his 43-year rule over the Central African nation following the announcement of the election results. Remember, mass protests had erupted across several cities, reflecting growing frustration with this decades-long rule. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has emphasized on the country's commitment to defeating terrorism through diplomatic engagement. His statement comes after Trump threatened military action against Nigeria, citing concerns over the alleged killing of Christians. The UN Security Council is voting to lift sanctions on Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara. US Ambassador Mike Waltz stated that the move signals that Syria has entered a new era. US President Donald Trump has announced that an international stabilization force for Gaza would be deployed very soon as part of his peace plan. The US has drafted a UN Security Council resolution authorizing a 2-year mandate for transitional governance in Gaza and the ISF. Well, viewers, those are the headlines and our top focus. Explosions were reportedly heard near army-controlled Khartoum on the 7th of November. Witnesses stated that blasts occurred near the Wadi Sayidna military base and a power station, with drone activity reported over Khartoum and Atbara, around 300 kilometers north. Anti-aircraft defenses engaged the drones, causing fires in some areas, although no casualties have been reported immediately. The RSF, which captured El Fasher in western Darfur less than 2 weeks ago, appears to be shifting focus eastwards towards Khartoum and South Kordofan. The Sudan Doctors Union also reported that the RSF shelled a hospital in Diling in South Kordofan. Both the army and the RSF have not yet commented on the attacks that have taken place. With us on the broadcast is Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev, former Indian High Commissioner to Nigeria, joining us from New Delhi. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. We've been discussing what's taking place in Sudan for quite a while now. Reports are also coming in that the RSF has agreed to a humanitarian truce proposed by a US-led mediator group. At the same time, we're also seeing these strikes taking place in Khartoum and in areas in South Kordofan as well. These are oil-rich areas. Do you think what the US has done will hold, or are these fresh strikes an indication of what is to come?
Good question. Thank you. But going by the past, it's difficult to be optimistic. There's not much love lost between the two antagonists. RSF and SAF, Sudanese Armed Forces, have been at each other's throat since April 2013. 2.5 years have seen massive and brutal fighting in various parts of Sudan, Africa's largest country, and a fracture of territories seem to have come into shape. West and south of Sudan are largely in the hand of RSF, and rest of the country, nearly two-thirds of original Sudan, uh, as it existed before 2023, is with SAF. As you yourself mentioned, the battle lines are jagged and they are changing all the time with Khartoum, which was taken over by SAF earlier this year and is supposed to be a government headquarters, has seen drone activity and not only in Khartoum, but 300 kilometers north, Al-Bara, which is further in government control and away from RSF. So the battle lines are shifting, and none of the two sides seem to be happy with the current situation. Both sides seek to represent the entire country, and while RSF has publicly declared their intention to go for a ceasefire, which in any case is limited, SAF is yet to take a position, and its older position is that RSF should disarm, vacate civilian territories, etc., which RSF is unlikely to accept. I think under the circumstances, we'll have to be cautious about any future projection. We would need to see if UAE, which has been supporting RSF, would renege and change its position to more neutral position. That would be necessary before RSF can be persuaded to be less hostile, and SAF sort of gives up its strong reservations on UAE's role and agrees to a ceasefire. If that happens, Africa's bloodiest conflict and the world's most serious humanitarian situation would have come to at least a pause, if not end. Thank you.
Indeed, sir. Requesting you to stay on with us. Of course, we're getting news regarding the truce itself at the moment. We're now learning that Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces, which have been at war with the Sudanese army for more than 2 years, have announced that they've agreed to a proposal for a humanitarian truce put forward by mediators from the United States. This announcement follows the paramilitary's capture of the major city of El Fasher, dislodging the army from its last stronghold in the vast western Darfur region. The military-aligned government did not immediately comment on the RSF's announcement. The government had indicated earlier that this week that it could press on with the war following an internal meeting on a ceasefire proposal. Listen in to what spokesperson of the RSF, Al-Fattah Qureshi, had to say.
تؤكد قوات الدعم السريع موافقتها على الدخول في الهدنة الإنسانية المطروحة من قبل دول الرباعية الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية، الإمارات العربية المتحدة، المملكة العربية السعودية وجمهورية مصر العربية، وذلك لضمان معالجة الآثار الإنسانية الكارثية الناجمة عن الحرب وتعزيز حماية المدنيين من خلال استكمال بنود الاتفاق على الهدنة الإنسانية لإدخال المساعدات الإنسانية.
Still with us on the broadcast is Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev. Interesting development, we've just discussed this. I also wanted to ask you, there's been a lot of talk about foreign interference, foreign backing of the RSF, which has come to light, especially from the United Arab Emirates that has its own interests with regards to the vast swathes of agricultural land that it holds in Sudan. It wants to keep its hold on that intact. There are, of course, concerns regarding the oil reserves that are present in Sudan as well, and who has control over that too. Speaking of international actors in this particular conflict, has this destabilized what's been taking place even further?
It has. It has not helped contain the situation. Both sides are largely dependent on foreign support, while UAE has been surreptitiously supporting the RSF through Chad and Libya and other mediatory devices or stations. Sudan armed forces have received help from Egypt and some other Arab countries, such as Qatar, and this has exacerbated the fighting because it has given additional firepower to and sustenance to the two sides. I should also add here that RSF's statement in Arabic, which a language that I know, was hyperbolic. It talked about all sort of humanitarian issues, but fact remains that after Al-Fashir's capture and various reports of RSF cadres having engaged in brutal massacres and genocide there, RSF was under pressure of being regarded as a criminal or terrorist group. United States has resisted this so far, but by agreeing to ceasefire, it has tried also to sort of deflect that criticism and show its more humane and law-abiding faith. It has almost taken it for granted that SAF will not agree to ceasefire, and therefore there will be no further action required. And that's how the drone activity in Khartoum and Al-Barra seem to have intensified.
Indeed, sir. With that, I would like to thank you for taking out time, sharing your analysis, your perspective on what's taking place in Sudan. The world's eyes are, of course, trained towards the dire humanitarian crisis as well. We've known that about 36,000 people have fled their homes after Al-Fashir was taken over. Meanwhile, we're tracking more news coming in. Pirates have attacked a Malta-flagged products tanker off the Somalian coast. This has reignited concerns for shipping lanes used to transport critical energy and goods to global markets. As the attack took place, the crew took refuge in a fortified safe room and remain in control of the vessel. Maritime security forces stated that pirates opened fire on the tanker and also fired rocket-propelled grenades as well. The European Union's naval force has stated that one of its assets was close to the incident and is closing in. It is ready to take appropriate action to respond effectively to this alert. The shipping route has long been attacked by pirates. The last hijacking in the region took place in December 2023 when the Maltese-flagged MV Ruin was taken by assailants to the Somali coast before Indian naval forces freed the crew and arrested the attackers. Of course, there has been relative calm along the Red Sea shipping route as well and the Gulf of Aden shipping route for quite a while now. But we're once again seeing these Somalian attackers coming out, these pirates coming out and attacking a Malta-flagged vessel. Incidentally, it was a Malta-flagged vessel that was attacked earlier in December 2023 as well. With us on the broadcast is Dr. Tolit Atia, African Affairs expert, joining us from Kampala in Uganda. Thank you so much for taking out time and speaking to us on NewsX World. What do you make at the outset of this renewed pirate attack, and what does this indicate of the larger maritime security environment of the Somalian coast? It has been rather tumultuous. We've seen numerous such attacks, but there was a relative period of calm last year itself and for a majority of this year.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me once again. You see, the issue of Somalia largely remains an unresolved issue. There have been punctuations of peace. There have been multiple engagements trying to resolve this. But I really think at the moment, one, there is an indication of international fatigue on the matters of Somalia. The other is that, of course, the other conflicts, the new conflicts internationally, including the Ukraine, and then in relation to maritime, look at the Huis who have taken the American interest. You find that Somalia finds itself in a situation of, a cul-de-sac situation, where I think increasingly the internal disparities, specifically between the elders and the warring groups, really need to get down and begin to rethink how they want to achieve peace. Because consolidation of peace in Somalia definitely will only arise when there is an attempt of an inclusive process. In as long as Mogadishu finds itself with sections of the territory like Djibouti, Puntland, and Somaliland, still out of that polity, the insurgents, just like the pirates, will continue to find every little gap, lapse, and we are going to see more of these incidences, especially on maritime security.
Indeed, sir. And speaking of, likelihood, do you think that we can see a resurgence in piracy in the near future, it returning to, the spate of attacks we'd seen back in 2023?
Yeah, I think that is very likely. One thing that we need to understand is that the Trump approach to administration and strategy has definitely caused a lot of shocks in different arenas, spheres, and perspectives. Because what is now preoccupying Trump centrally is the impact of China. What is really under the USA radar is China. And I think because of this, and additionally the question of their decreased or cut investments around the world, even in supporting peace and security, which of course has been quite substantial. This creates weaknesses, and the warring parties are going to take advantage of this, as I said. The other, of course, is the challenge of the internal groups failing to find dialogue as an option. Because the question of inclusion is now very important. There is a very young generation across Africa, including in Somalia. So these youngsters are in a quest for jobs, they're in a quest for employment, they're in a quest of acceptance in society. So it is possible that they're going to be lured in very many different ways. And the very one thing that needs to come to the fore and needs to be discussed seriously, particularly by the AU and its Security Commission, is that I think there is need to urge African states to understand that investment in peace and security should be a paramount issue for these countries. These countries need to know that peace and security is probably the only investment that Africa needs for Africa to stabilize and grow. But in as long as they are waiting for outsiders to be able to invest in peace and security, the African peace and security architecture will never hold.
Indeed, sir. Requesting you to stay on with us as we're tracking further updates, this time from Ethiopia. We're now learning that Ethiopia's interim Tigray authorities have dismissed claims from neighboring Afar that Tigrayan forces had seized villages and bombed civilians, calling the accusations baseless and part of an evil plot against the Tigray people. Afar officials had alleged that 6 villages were captured and shelled with mortars and heavy artillery. While a fragile peace had largely held, tensions between the federal government in Addis Ababa and the Tigray People's Liberation Front have escalated in recent months. The TPLF was officially removed from Ethiopia's list of political parties in May amid internal divisions. Federal authorities have also accused the group of re-establishing ties with Eritrea, whose past conflicts with Ethiopia include a border war between 1998 and 2000 that killed tens of thousands of people. So with us on the broadcast is Dr. Tolit Attia. Interesting development coming in. We've of course seen a lot of tension between the people of Tigray and the federal government in Ethiopia, of course exacerbated due to the TPLF now being removed from the list of political parties as well. It was a ceasefire into 2022, but it is quite fragile at the moment. Could this, what we're witnessing right now, then risk the re-emergence of hostilities in northern Ethiopia?
Yes, most definitely, because the issue of Ethiopia, North Ethiopia, was really never completely resolved. What we saw happen was just basically, compromise, and probably, if you like, in terms of military terms, they just needed some period of rest and then begin to rethink. And just like I said before, you see, there is violence is now dotting across. We've seen it in West Africa. We've seen it in Central Africa. We're seeing it in Cameroon. And these young people, particularly with the presence of television and internet today, which has also become a frontline, many of these people are seeing these views, they are seeing these actions, and I really want to tell you, violence begets violence. These images are very attractive to these young people, and in as long as the question and the quest for young people is not resolved as a leadership issue in Africa, we are yet to see so many escalations across Africa. I think definitely it's time that some of these leaders, I cannot fathom it. Look at a 92-year-old trying to become president again.
Yes.
And insisting in Cameroon. This is just not acceptable. It is time the African leaders actually realize that the young people are pushing forward, and as long as they are given room to participate, in other words, not given opportunity for including both social and economic, Africa is not going next. So that has come as a surprise to me.
All right, so with that, I'd like to thank you for taking our time and sharing your analysis with us on NewsX World. And speaking of Cameroon, Paul Biya, Cameroon's president for 43 years, was sworn in for an 8th term on Thursday after a contested election that sparked mass protests. The 92-year-old won with 53.7% of the vote against Issa Chiroma Bakari, who received 35.2%. Chiroma, a former ally turned opposition leader, continues to claim that he is the true winner of the polls. His calls for dead city operations led to mixed results across the country. The government reportedly plans to press charges against him. The violent crackdown on protesters has drawn international condemnation, with both the EU and AU condemning the response. The United Nations has called for an investigation into the unrest. With that, viewers, due to paucity of time, it's a wrap on the Africa Brief. We will continue to track all of these updates very, very closely. In the meantime, we're dipping into a quick short break.